Alright, next I have is lands. Lands are nothing too special. I have a few lands that I want to go over, but the rest of the lands is they're pretty standard. So I guess we'll just go over utility lands. So we have Dried Arbor. As I said earlier, there's a green sense in the trick where you can use it as mana acceleration. And this guy, you know, he can hold a sword. He can sorry, not a sword. He can hold the Yumazawa's Jitte. He can die to Skull Clamp, draw 2 cards. So he does a lot of cool tricks. Also, if you run, you know, I have fetch lands in here, so if you sacrifice Verdant Catacombs, Verdant Catacomb reads you get to search your deck for a swamp or forest, put it into play. Well, conveniently, this guy is a creature, you know, forest, land. He's everything. So he's the forest. So you can cool trick is you can put him straight into play with like a Verdant Catacomb or something. This guy just, you know, he has a lot of different things. He's very versatile. Okina's good for getting Skullbriar bigger, so he pumps up legends. So if you have Skullbriar, even Thrun, Glissa, those are pretty good ways to utilize Okina. So Okina's very good. Also part of that cycle is Shizo. So and obviously I can only run these two because my deck's Golgari. But Shizo gives your creatures fear, your target legend fear, which for those of you who don't play as far as back as when fear was a keyword. Fear is basically intimidate, so it's like a black creature having intimidate. That's what fear is. So fear is the creatures can't be blocked except by other black creatures or artifact creatures. So that's what Shizo does for Skullbriar. So it's very possible with Skullbriar you get to kill him with commander damage. So you can just get through with Shizo every time, and like, you know, if they don't have an answer, well, they die pretty quickly. I have Valrot's Stronghold. This card is really good. Pretty much any creatures that died you can recycle back. You know, you can go end of turn, I'll put my guy back on top, or I'll put my guy back on top, Skull Clamp, draw the guy, and it's really good. I mean, you get to rebuy your best creatures that died or something. I also have Cabal Pit. It's kind of like a Disfigure in a land form. It's pretty good. I mean, I don't like taking the damage every time because the deck, with this Skullbriar deck, the thing is you take a lot of damage off your own lands and off of your own spells like Bitter Blossom, Dark Tutelage, Dark Confidant, Phyrexian Arena. There's a lot of ways you take damage, but I mean it's worth it with this land because like it's a lot of creatures and stuff. They have protection from black and protection from green or something like that. This takes care of that problem because technically lands are colorless. So having a colorless source of removal is pretty important sometimes, especially with Moran Crusader. Moran Crusader, you cannot beat that card because it's protection from black and greens, and so like it's just really miserable to play against it. But this kind of makes that better. Pendelhaven's pretty good. It produces green mana. Excuse me. As you notice, a lot of my, particularly my mana producers and a lot of creatures in the deck are 1/1s, and they're very small. But what this card does is instead of making mana, you can tap it and give your creature +1/+2, so it becomes a 2/3, which, you know, it can attack through some stuff and it can block pretty well. So Pendelhaven is just a pretty good utility land. Yeah, Tectonic Edge and Wasteland, they're kind of the same card. These destroy non-basics, so if you're ever facing against like some pretty annoying lands like, excuse me, like Mazavith, well, these are perfect for just getting rid of those. I also have what we call man lands, which they are lands that can also attack. So for this deck, I just have like Vita Vault, Treetop Village, and technically Dried Arbor is a man land, although I don't attack with it like too often. It does other stuff instead. And so like the rest of the lands are pretty standard. Like, oh sorry, Bajuka Bog is, sorry, it's another utility land. So it comes into play. I get to exile somebody's graveyard basically. So it's good against decks like mine. It's also good against other decks that just work out the graveyard in general. There's also Gaia's Cradle as well. It's just a mass mana producer, like I said. You flood the board with creatures, so being able to Gaia's Cradle, make a lot of mana, you can just cast out of your hand easily. Okay, that's fine. So that's it for utility lands. So yeah, these are all utility lands. Or, you know, they perform a lot of functions in the deck. Other than that, all the lands are pretty standard. So you have, of course, the best lands ever printed in Magic, and you know, somebody try to argue otherwise with me. Of course, I'm talking about fetch lands there. People complain about wanting a 5-color land, and this is basically what these are. They give you any mana you want. They shuffle your deck, they thin it out. They do a lot of different functions. Fetch lands are the best lands ever printed in Magic. Somebody please argue otherwise. Yeah, so I have 6 of them. Obviously, I can't play like Tarn Misty, or no, sorry, Tarn Mesa, or what's the other one? Flooded Strand. My colors just don't. Those aren't my colors, but I play all the other ones except for Delta. Urborg's just okay. I mean, I have Reflecting Pool, City of Brass, Command Tower. These are just all standard lands. They're dual lands, so the thing about aggro decks in general is that you need to cast your creatures on time. You need to have the correct mana too. Dual lands obviously make that way easier, especially not this. This is a 2-color mana base. Casting your creatures is pretty easy. 4 basic forest and 3 basic swamps. That tops out the mana. So yeah, that's it for Skullbriar. It's a very good deck. It's very aggressive. I love the deck. It's very efficient in what it does. It beats down, gets card advantage. That's what I like to see in the deck. It's very good. There's one thing that I changed about this deck is that like I'd like all the cards to be foil, but and I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, there's some card choices, like I said, that you can debate. Like I said, Chainer's Edict over a Diabolic Edict, or like there's other cards that you can debate. But I mean, it's all preference. This is the way I decided to build mine. I like it the way it runs. If you like it, go ahead and build it, and you can come to your own conclusions when you're finished with everything. So this is Merced signing off for the Stronghold Games, and thank you.